Good morning, good afternoon, and or good evening. My name is Jake, and this is the Candid Craftsman YouTube channel. And in today's demonstration, we're going to be building a cheese EndGrain board, charcuterie board, or just a display really for a table. You could use it as a full-fledged cutting board, but I think it's more on the artsy side than the heavy use side, so because it's only going to be 3/4 of an inch thick, all said and done. So just cutting up some scrap pieces and cut-offs and strips that were just sitting around not getting used, and this is all pretty decent wood. It's gonna be a board made out of cherry, maple, and dark walnut. And right now on the joiner, I'm just squaring up the pieces, so when I go to glue up the first glue up, everything glues up fairly flat and nice. I'm doing this a different way. Instead of gluing each little different pieces up, I'm gonna do two different glue ups. A glue up with the long pieces first, and then I'm gonna go to the table saw and cut 1-inch wide strips later on in the video and glue those up second. It's going to be a really nice different process, so I hope you stick around and enjoy. So just cutting pieces to different length, cutting some defects off on these. Like I said, these are cut-offs. They've been they're the waste, right? So there's a lot of pieces that aren't necessarily usable, so I had to quick cut those off, and now I'm just deciphering what kind of pattern I want to go with and kind of envisioning what would look best for this project. Topping off the glue bottle here, because one thing cutting boards do use a lot of is glue, and it is messy. As you can see, I don't know if you noticed the bags, that's actually a shopping bag. It works phenomenal to put on top of a surface to keep it clean from glue residue coming out of the seams of the glue up, and it doesn't stick to glue. As long as you get it off before it really dries up, they peel right off, and you can clean them off too and reuse them. It's a little life hack there. So quick time lapse of just doing the first glue up, and then we're gonna chop off the ugly ends on there. They're pretty weird looking when you get them cut off. See, I wonder if there's something I could do with these, but I think they're bound for the fireplace in the next winter, because I don't know, but they're pretty cool looking. Anyway, chopping off the ends here, and then that's, it's not the prettiest slab of wood, but for a bunch of scraps, I think I did pretty good making a pattern. And the plan is to take this off to the planer next and get it to the thickness that I want to go with, which is the thickness of whenever this becomes a smooth panel, and just bringing it down, setting up this thickness planer. Just taking a little bit off at a time. Nothing's too set in stone with this project. It was just really a way to use up some scrap wood, but I think towards the end of the video you'll see this is a showstopper. I mean, this is a really cool project. The one thing about making EndGrain cutting boards, and I want to emphasize this, is how much sanding it takes to get a good quality finish, because it's so more time consuming to get all the imperfections out of the EndGrain to the point where it looks spotless. It really does take a ton of time. So I did include some sanding footage later on in this video. The planing, you gotta take the planer out. There's no other way to get through this process. You gotta thin it out and get it nice and square, so when we cut it on the table saw and put those pieces up like a filing cabinet next to each other, they will seam up nicely with one another. So here we are. I don't recommend doing this for anyone unexperienced, or I really don't like doing it either. It's a terrible thing here what I'm doing, but I will say that I don't have a crosscut slider, and for something like this, you know, this is free wood. I'm just messing around. See, it's cut-offs to other projects, so it's not free wood, but it's just waste wood. So I'm a little less concerned, and it ended up working perfectly fine. But anything wider than like an inch, I would not do this with, because it can bind up. There's a high chance of binding up and doing something like this. But I made it through, but discretion advised. It's not the smartest thing I'm doing here. The blade can cut hardwood. I mean, it's not sharp, but it can cut it. So, I mean, it's an alright blade. It says it has industrial carbide on it, but I will say this blade has lasted for 3 months now, so of a lot of use, heavy use. So it's pretty decent. This is a 10-inch table saw, and it's too small for where I'm headed, hopefully, but it's nice because it's so portable. I can move it around. I'm working in a closet right here, basically a tool closet. So yeah, it's good for what I'm working with here, and it's single phase electricity, so I can plug it into a ball outlet and it'll work. So that's why it's key. But yeah, just going along with the push stick here, pulling out the pieces so they don't catch, and the blowout is inevitable. Like, I don't have a crosscut. That's another benefit to a crosscut sled. Basically, with a crosscut sled, the back edge is squared up to a backer board, and it prevents blowout. So in this, I'm checking. You can see to see how bad the blowout is on each piece, and I just cut all the blowout out at the end. This is all oversized right up until the very end. The board ends up being 7.25 inches wide by a foot long, so a decent sized cheese board by 3/4 inches thick, and it is. I just sanded up to 220 grit. I'll talk more about the sanding process later, but now we're doing the glue up, and on the glue up, I don't just, on a glue joint, when it comes to these cutting boards, I don't just put glue on one side of the joint. I put glue on both sides, all the faces. Because what happens is it takes a minute to get to the end of the run of pieces. And by the time you get to the end, it's just nice to have that excess glue, regardless of what anyone says. I mean, why do all this work and not, be liberal with your glue usage? It's just, and I was taught that way at my old shop. I was taught to use excess glue and just deal with the cleanup, because all you need is water to clean up glue. So you should always have enough glue. It is a mess, but that's, in a moment, you'll see we're gonna cut that mess off. Here, there's a few high spots that just lifted up off of this table, and I'm just tapping them. I can tap them because without a wood block, because this is all going to get cut off with the router. I'm taking a mortising bit and basically going through and shaving off all the rough glue up pieces, all the burn marks. They're all going to get shaved off here once this dries up later on. And these projects, I want to be clear, I'm not doing all this in one sitting. I'm coming back later on in the day. I'm doing something else, because this takes 2 hours to dry. This is like 2 hours later in the day, and I'm just going through and I am cutting those rough edge. When I went and did the pattern, they're kind of offset, and to get the pattern that I wanted. So that's why there's kind of looked weird, the cut off on the table. So one was longer than the next, and then vice versa, because it was. Now this is the router sled. I featured this in a couple shorts I've been working on, because it's a perfect clip for a short. I think this is exactly what this does. It's just a time saver for belt sander. Because you could just belt sand this stuff, but it doesn't. It's not guaranteed to come out. It's hard to get up. It's not guaranteed to come out flat, right? So you set it on a table. If you belt sand it, it's hard. It's too much to It's hard to get it perfectly flat with the belt sander. It might take out a little excess and make a divot in a specific spot in the board, and then it rocks on the table. This ensures that board is just as flat as the sled that the router is riding along. And you could just make it out of plywood like I did. They're expensive, the nice ones. They're confusing, honestly. This is pretty. You clamp the runners to the table. We'll call those runners, those 3/4 inch pieces of plywood. They're disposable, right? You cut right into them. It's softer than the hardwood. It's not going to damage the blade or the carbide rather, on the router bit. So yeah, this is just a slow process. It's very intimidating when you start because it's EndGrain. EndGrain is difficult to cut into, but these routers are pretty astonishing at what they can accomplish and how important they are to this trade. So it's a very messy, very messy route to take, but at the end of the day, it's the most effective way to get a very flat board, I'd say. You still have to sand this. This doesn't bypass sanding, and you'll see right here in these clips, you take this belt sander here, which has 60 grit on it to start, and I do a crosshatch pattern with the belt sander. If you don't start with 60 grit on this EndGrain, even after the router bit, you're gonna be rubbing two sticks together. Like, it is really, especially with the hardwood, it's very resistant to sand coming off, and that's why they're so good for these cutting boards, right? Because you're taking a blade and you're running it over this wood for time and time again. That's why they're beneficial, right? But when it comes to sanding them, it is a long process. So I hit it with 60 cross hatch, and right away you can see that design start to come out. I kind of do down the middle. I did alternating dark walnut to lighter walnut, dark walnut to lighter walnut, all the way down. There's cherry. The cherry comes out more once I put the treatment on it, the mineral oil treatment. So this is the cross hatching I'm talking about. See how I have the board going long ways. I don't know if you noticed, but on my workbench I have a little lip that all I gotta do to belt sand is put the edge of a surface right up against that lip, and it almost works as like a planer stop. And I built it in. It just kind of happened with the materials I had available at the time, and it's been so handy. I thought it might be, see, just flip it around and get going on that crosshatch. This is 80 grit, so I'll go from 60 up to 80 and cut out the 60 grit lines. These belt sanders, the negative thing about them is you gotta orbital sand out all of the lines they make, which is a little time consuming. But I'm thinking I'm gonna try to go up to 220 from now on with the belt sander, because even at 120, after sanding for maybe 10 minutes, I still see some fine lines in the finish, and I'm like, oh, this isn't really ideal. Now I gotta orbital sand these out still after 10 minutes of sanding or whatever. It might be 30 minutes of sanding. I might be lying there when it comes to, I'm not sure. Some of these videos I take and I look and it's like, this clip's 15 minutes long. I'm like, oh my gosh. But just gonna round over. I went with a round over router bit on these. Just a very micro bit. And here we are doing this, orbital sanding features. And like I said, I go very slow through this process. It takes forever, but I figured I'd feature a small clip of me orbital sanding this. And then at the end of this video, I'm going to include the couple pictures, if you're interested, of what this item looks like. And it's going to be posted on my Etsy account, along with a couple other EndGrain cutting boards I've been working on. I'm really looking to advertise my shop because I want to build more, and I want to design and build. This is what I think is fun. Trying to do the YouTube thing to kind of promote my construction more. Please like and subscribe, and also I am on Instagram and Facebook. My handles are Candid Craftsman on Facebook and Candid_Craftsman67 on Instagram. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a good one.